The cafeteria went silent the moment the tray hit the floor. A small, trembling girl stood frozen as three older boys laughed at her, their cruel voices echoing off the walls. "Watch where you're going, nerd," one of them sneered, shoving her backpack to the ground. The girl's eyes filled with tears, but before she could speak, a deep, commanding voice cut through the noise. "Pick it up," the man said. Every head turned. Standing by the doorway was a man in a worn-out military jacket, his posture straight and his gaze sharp, like someone who'd seen real battles. His name was Daniel Ross, a single father and an ex-soldier who had recently started a new job as a janitor at the prestigious Crestwood Academy. His 8-year-old son, Ethan, was a student there, his scholarship the only reason they could afford this life. The bullies hesitated, but Daniel's eyes didn't waver. "You heard me," he repeated. "Pick it up." The biggest boy scowled, muttered something under his breath, and finally bent down to retrieve the tray. The cafeteria buzzed again, but this time with whispers of shock and awe. The girl, still trembling, managed a quiet, "Thank you." Daniel gave a small nod. "You okay?" She nodded quickly, brushing away her tears. "I'm fine, sir." "Don't let people like that make you feel small," he said gently. "You hold your head high." She smiled faintly before hurrying away. Daniel went back to mopping, unaware that this small act of kindness would change his life forever. That evening, Daniel picked Ethan up from class. The boy ran up, grinning, holding a paper marked with an A+. "You did it, champ," Daniel said proudly. "That's my boy." Life hadn't been easy since Daniel's wife died 3 years ago. Between late-night cleaning shifts and early mornings preparing breakfast, he barely had time to rest. But every time he looked at Ethan, he found strength again. They lived in a small apartment, bare walls, second-hand furniture, but a warmth that came from love and laughter. Daniel often told Ethan stories about the army, the friendships, the discipline, and the lessons about courage. Ethan listened like his father was a superhero. "Dad," Ethan said one night as they sat eating instant noodles. "When you yelled at those bullies today, everyone said you were awesome." Daniel chuckled. "You saw that? Everyone's talking about it. The girl you helped, she's really rich. Like, super rich." Daniel smiled faintly. "Doesn't matter if someone's rich or poor, son. Respect is for everyone." He didn't think much of it after that. The next morning, Daniel was called into the head office. He assumed he was in trouble. Maybe the parents of those bullies had complained. He straightened his uniform and knocked on the door. "Come in," said a calm, confident female voice. Behind a sleek mahogany desk sat Margaret Cole, the CEO of Crestwood Industries, the company that funded the academy. She was elegant, sharp-eyed, and clearly someone used to being in charge. But Daniel was caught off guard not by her power, but by the girl sitting beside her. It was the same girl from the cafeteria. "Mr. Ross," Margaret began, "I understand you stepped in yesterday to protect my daughter, Lily." Daniel blinked, surprised. "Your daughter?" Lily smiled shyly. "Hi, Mr. Ross." Margaret's expression softened as she continued. "I want to thank you for what you did. I've heard troubling things about those students before, but this was the first time anyone stood up to them." "I just did what any decent person would do," Daniel replied. Margaret smiled slightly. "Maybe. But not everyone does." Then she surprised him further. "I did some checking. You're an Army veteran, honorably discharged after 12 years of service. You've been working double shifts to support your son." Daniel tensed. "Ma'am, if this is about yesterday, I didn't mean to cause any trouble." Margaret raised a hand. "No trouble. In fact, I'd like to offer you a new position. Head of Security for Crestwood Industries." Daniel froze. "Ma'am, what?" "It's clear you understand discipline, courage, and respect, qualities this company values," she said. "And after what you did for Lily, I trust you with more than any background check ever could." For a moment, Daniel couldn't speak. His throat tightened. "Thank you, ma'am. I don't know what to say." "Say you'll take it," she said kindly. He nodded slowly. "I'll take it." Over the next few weeks, Daniel's life began to change. He moved from cleaning halls to managing security teams, earning a salary that finally let him breathe. He enrolled Ethan in new activities, paid off debts, and bought their first car. But what mattered most wasn't the money, it was the peace. For the first time since the war, Daniel felt like life was moving forward. Lily, too, changed. Once shy and withdrawn, she became confident. She often visited Daniel and Ethan, helping with schoolwork or joining them for pizza nights. Daniel realized that beneath her wealth and status, she was just a kid who wanted kindness. One evening, Margaret invited Daniel and Ethan to a formal dinner. There, in front of the entire board, she publicly thanked him. "This man," she said, her voice filled with emotion, "reminded us all that true strength isn't in power or money, but in standing up for what's right, even when no one's watching." The room filled with applause. Daniel stood humbly, his heart full. Ethan beamed with pride. Later, as they drove home, Ethan said softly, "Dad, Mom would have been proud of you." Daniel's eyes glistened. He reached over and squeezed his son's shoulder. "I hope so, buddy. I really hope so." Months passed. Daniel continued to work at Crestwood, now a respected leader who inspired others. Lily flourished in school. Ethan grew into a confident boy, carrying his father's lessons of courage and compassion. And though Daniel still missed his wife deeply, he knew she was smiling somewhere, because her husband had turned pain into purpose. One small act of kindness in a cafeteria had rewritten their destinies.